Well, it is just after the hour, so why don't we jump in? It's great to see everybody here today. We're going to talk today about 5 proven techniques to successfully build your brand identity and expand your sphere. So two topics that are super important to successful agents around the country. So with that, maybe let's go to the next slide and I'll introduce everybody and then we can jump in. So I'm Marilyn Wilson, as I mentioned, president of RE Technology and founding partner of Wave Group. Great to see everybody today. We've got John Adams. He's the president of Adams Cameron and Company, a really, really smart brokerage that does lots of cool stuff with technology and helps their agents win in big ways using it. Then we have Peter Norton. He's the president of Big Rock Consulting Group. So he does all kinds of great stuff with technology and marketing technologies and things like that. So 2 people, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves in more detail, but let's do that, and then we'll jump in and share some of the great ideas with you. John, you want to kick us off?
Sure, I think you did a great job. Yeah, John Adams, Adams Cameron Company. We are on the east coast of Central Florida. We've got about 300 agents in 8 offices spanning the area, and we try and strive to be at the front edge, not too far ahead, but right at the front edge of all the technology and the marketing that's out there to make sure that we're doing the best that we can for our agents, for our sellers, and our buyers.
And Peter?
Sure, thanks, Marilyn, and hello, happy Halloween to all of you. I'm Peter Newton with Big Rock Consulting Group. We specialize in working with local media and tech companies in helping them grow, really about growth strategies. Some of the work that I've done and that we have done has been with really a variety of tech companies that help businesses like yours, small businesses, some in real estate, scale their business and to do it really cost effectively and well. So we're really excited about the talk we'll have today.
Great. Well, that's a great blend because we've got a deep practitioner blended with someone that understands this technology and a whole bunch more beyond that. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys, and then I will be watching for questions. So if anybody has anything you'd like to ask either of our experts here, feel free to throw it into the chat or into the Q&A, and I'll be watching those and I'll pose it to them as it makes sense. So take it away, guys.
Great. Well, I think that's me. So here's what we'll cover today. We'll provide you with best practices to develop and promote a unique brand identity so that you can build your sphere and your pipeline of future prospects. We'll also show you some examples of agents who are successfully positioning themselves as experts in their niche and how you can use these same techniques to build your own digital brand identity. Before we dive into how we create and promote your digital brand identity, though, let's take a look at how the consumer real estate journey has changed over time. And these are considerations both for sellers and buyers. So first, and this is data from just a few months ago, internet users spend on average just under 7 hours a day online. That's a lot of time. Some of that time is on Google search. Lots of it is on social media. So sites like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. But in addition, consumers are spending time on many different websites to get news, information, entertainment, really all kinds of things. And another trend kind of underneath that or underpinning that is that the average US adult is also using multiple devices as they're accessing or doing things online. So that's mobile, with smartphones, that's desktop, that's tablet. It's an important consideration when we talk about digital marketing and how you can be most effective. And the second trend worth noting is that buying or selling a home is a serious and often long process. Half of the people began their formal home search, up to a year in advance. According to Google, 2/3 of those people research prospective agents extensively online prior to working with them. So if you don't have a digital identity, prospects won't know you exist. And I want to emphasize here, it's not just a digital presence, which is a term or a phrase that's been out there for several years, really, as one of the foundational things that you need to establish. But that digital presence is really just showing up initially. You need a true identity online. We're going to talk about what that is and what that means for you. And the third point here today is that people are moving further away from where they currently live. And the median distance between the home a buyer purchased and the home they moved from was 50 miles. That's up from 15 miles just several years ago. That's probably really one of the impacts that COVID has had. There were some other societal trends underneath that, but that's a really important change. So you can't necessarily reach those people with traditional local marketing only, such as postcards and billboards and other forms of direct mail, those types of things. So let's take a look at how this impacts your business.
So one of the things that we found, so we watch our website really, really closely, and we track where consumers are going on our website, and we're really adamant about it because we want to understand what's the most useful thing for them. And obviously the number one thing that we find is that people are going out and doing home searches. And whether that's they want to know what the price is of the house that's down the street, or they want to know all the 3-bedroom, 2 baths in a particular neighborhood, that's number one. But I'll tell you the number two thing that people are looking at is they're going out and they're looking up our agents, and they're looking at agents and saying, hey, what do I know about this person? And what's really interesting is it's not always just about how many homes did I sell, or and for some people it is. I mean, for some people it is, but for a lot of people, it's, does this person have a background that I can identify with? Maybe they came from an area that I'm familiar with. Maybe they have a background doing similar work experience. And so people are going through and they're reading profile after profile after profile on our website and looking at these agents to try and really understand who they connect with. And the reason I mention that to you is it's when we talk about a digital identity, it's more than just having your bio out there. It's a bigger process, and it's a bigger piece of it. And it really it can change the way that consumers are viewing you in the marketplace. All right, so with that, the other thing that's interesting is accurate information. Literally just yesterday, I got a call from somebody who said, they went onto a website and consumers showed that they had 20 sales in the last 5 years. And she says to me, I've got hundreds of sales in the last 5 years. Why am I showing 20? Well, information isn't always accurate on every website, right? They're trying to use MLS data, which we all know is inaccurate. They're trying to use information that's available out there on the public markets. And it's a challenge to deal with all the stuff that's out there. So we want to make sure we're getting the right thing. And then the last thing is you want to be ahead of the game. You want to make sure that when a consumer's thinking about moving, when a consumer's thinking about making a decision, they know who you are. And they know that you have a design in place and you have an idea in place, and your profile is out there so that you're ahead of them. And so even when you get a referral, people want to know, just because somebody says, hey, Peter's a great guy, I'm going to go out and research Peter, and I want to make sure that when they find me, they find the right profile and they find the right information.
So let's get into how you can stand out in a competitive market, reach those ideal prospects in real time online, and ensure that when you're making that digital marketing investment, that's helping you build your business for the long run. And we've broken this down into 5 key steps, and they really work together to create a distinct and strong digital brand identity to build your sphere. So the first step is really the basics, right? That's positioning yourself as an expert in your niche and your market. People have many choices, right? So why you? Why should they choose you? This is the foundation for all of your marketing. And I'm actually I'll make the point as well, what I mentioned earlier, some of my background in working with a lot of different types of small businesses. This is really what we emphasize to every business, no matter what industry that they're in, right? Is positioning yourself as that trusted expert. And we'll talk about, how you can do that. So in terms of your distinct identity, some of the key steps, right, and questions that you want to think about. Too often when agents create their bios or profiles, they use vague generalities. That doesn't set you apart. Instead, you want to ask yourself these types of questions. Like I was mentioning, why should a prospective client work with you? And think about that. What unique value do you bring to the table? What do people say about you? That's even better, right? What are other consumers or current clients, past clients? How would they describe you and the service that you provide? What is it about your services that they really appreciate? And the more specific you can be, the better, right? Because you need to cut through the clutter of all the different messaging that's out there and be memorable to people to establish that top of mind. So, and as part of that, as you're thinking about that, think about, do you have a niche that you specialize in? Or maybe it's multiple, but things like, are you an expert in luxury homes, or a specific neighborhood, or a type of buyer or seller? Often agents, especially those early in their career, their real estate career, make the mistake of wanting to appeal to anyone and everyone. But as you gain experience, you want to focus on where your expertise is, and then you build from that over time. Then you can extend out maybe into some additional niches or additional market segments. And finally, you want to offer some proof points to build confidence and trust among consumers, right? So like those, recent market trends that I was citing earlier, those are data points, right? What are the data points? What do you have? Anything that speaks to your experience, your credentials quantitatively. So things like, have you listed and sold the most homes in a particular neighborhood? Or are you known for working with a certain type of seller or buyer? Do you have credentials, right? Do you have professional credentials or past experience that add value and really resonate with clients? Want to make it irrefutable to the greatest extent that you can, that you stand out, you have this expertise.
Yeah, and another thing that's really important, I was in a meeting years and years ago, and there was a group that put together a survey, and the thing is that the information holds up today, which is that they surveyed a bunch of consumers and they said, who do you want to work with, right? If you've got an agent that you really like, that you want to work with, but they work for a brokerage that you don't know or don't trust and you don't have any tie to, what they found is the majority of people said they don't want to work with that person because they don't trust the idea that they're working with a brokerage. Likewise, somebody could be with a great brokerage, but it could be an agent that they don't like, that they don't trust. And again, consumers said on the whole, and it's a beautiful bell curve, it lines up perfectly. What people are looking for is they're looking for an agent that they can believe in and a brokerage that they can believe in. And what's really important about that, when you're out there, when I look at advertisements that are out there today, when I look at the way that agents and brokerages are reaching out, I find that too often they're not considering both aspects. So in other words, how many times have you seen an agent ad where the brokerage name is in a little tiny corner in the bottom right-hand thing that you can't even read? I mean, it looks like a copyright symbol, right? Or you see a brokerage that's out there talking about themselves, but they're not talking about the power of their agents and how much they believe in the agents that they have, and believe they have the right agents on board. And so we really have to bring this together, and we have to understand that when you're building that brand, it's super, super valuable. So from the standpoint of, if you're a brand new agent, obviously you need to depend on the brokerage brand because that's established in most communities, right? But even if you're the most experienced agent out there, that brokerage brand takes you to the next level and helps you to succeed where you otherwise might not be able to. So I just want to remind everybody to remember how important that is, that combination of both the local agent and the brokerage name, and it's in a mixture of the two.
John, I actually wrote that point down because I think it's really powerful. The want somebody you can believe in. That's just hugely important. So in terms of our 5 steps, right? Step 2 may be the single most important step here, and that is it's the mindset that you'll adopt. When you craft your bio, your profile, you want to do so from the consumer's perspective, right? Not yours. So put yourself in the customer's shoes. How are they thinking about this whole process, or what they'd like to accomplish? What's going through their minds, and then how can you appeal to that? And at the very base level of that is including keywords in your profile such as neighborhoods and niches, because ultimately you want to show up in those search results when consumers are looking for the right realtor. But we'll go deeper into that with some more detailed points about how to bring this out. Putting yourself in your customer's shoes, another way to say that really is customer empathy, right? And when you create your brand identity, you're thinking carefully about your target clients, right? Not just their demographics, which are important, but also the kind of lifestyle that they're looking for, what some people might call the psychographics, right? That right home or that right neighborhood can offer. And you want to think too about the information that the consumer needs to help them make a good decision. You want to offer this information early in the real estate journey. You don't want to wait for a listing presentation. You want to show people early on that you have this expertise that they need in a real estate professional. You want to be or establish yourself top of mind, right? And of course they would use you, right? You make it a no-brainer for them, and then you continually remind them over time that what it is, and very specifically, what's the value that you offer. You're avoiding those vague cliches that don't set you apart.
Yeah, and
John,
Peter, I think that's a really.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was
I have
just
a
going to
question
say.
for you on that, because
Sure.
I mean, when you look at what real estate agents do, right, for the most part, and I'm sure this is the same in other industries, right? The process of buying and selling real estate is similar between agents. And I've talked to agents that are, that are doing well, that would like to do better. I'm sure we have some on the, like, we all want to do better, right? We're never as big as we could be or want to be. And they kind of struggle with this. It's like, well, I'm just a real estate agent. Like, I do what everyone else does. Like, they really struggle with trying to get to what makes me different. So any advice for people that kind of feel like I'm just kind of where I am and I do what I do, and what really does make me stand out?
I think I'm going back to the point about vague cliches, and I'm gonna give you the focus group of one here, some of my recent experience, and I'm curious about John's opinion or answering this question as well. So I worked with a real estate agent, in this case, initially, who helped me sell my dad's condo. She did a great job there, and then helped me buy a house. And I live a little north of Boston, a town called Newburyport. But it was the house that I wanted and ultimately bought. We found out had 2 or 3 points, believe it or not, built on the neighbor's property, and there was a lot of confusion and all kinds of things. But she was incredibly resourceful, my agent, in helping get a surveyor or the professional services that we needed, and to know exactly what was done, in helping get a lawyer and ultimately we were able to negotiate with that neighbor and get the legalities all straightened out. But she made things happen like I've never seen from a real estate agent before. And then I wrote this great review for her on Zillow and some other places. I'm so appreciative. But that's so on the one hand, you could say, oh, she was resourceful and took extra steps, to make things happen. But if I were her, right, and I'm talking about how she presents herself, I would use those examples of the type of extraordinary steps that she'll go to get things done for her clients. I hope that answers your question, but
That is a good one. And you bring up another point, and John, I'd love to hear your perspective on this too. I think sometimes agents like all of us, we're afraid to admit that sometimes we look like ducks swimming nicely, calmly on the top of the pond, and below we're paddling like crazy, right? And because sometimes things do go wrong, and I think sometimes people are afraid to talk about the fact real estate transactions have glitches, right? They're not perfect. They do take, ebbs and flows and turns. And I think agents are sometimes afraid. So would you say it's okay for them to say, yeah, I've run into this kind of a challenge like you just described, and the most important point, I was able to get my client through it, because things like that do happen. Real estate is not a perfect process.
Marilyn, if I can answer, there's an old cliche, an old real estate adage that comes to mind, which is shy realtors have skinny kids. And if you don't step up and tell people what you're willing to do for them, if you're not out there marketing yourself, you're not talking about the fact that, listen, I mean, we have a lot of transactions every year, and I would certainly hope that 100% of them go through without any hitch whatsoever. It's not realistic. It's just not realistic. You're going to have a problem. You're going to have a buyer. You're going to have a seller. Something's going to happen in somebody's life. There's going to be a problem with a property in the way that Peter just described that nobody probably was even aware of. And when you go to transfer the property, it comes up. And the fact is that if you're going to build out that profile, you need to be ready to express yourself and talk about what you can do and the experiences that you've had and how you can take things to the next level. And, I mean, I know it's a joke and it's funny, but shy realtors have skinny kids. You got to get out there. You got to say, this is what I can do. This is what I can do that's different than what, the next person down the road is going to be doing. And the way to do that is to express it through your profile, your information online, your expression, also in person, of course. But then the other thing, of course, is, you got to build the reviews and you got to build the third party proofs to put all that together. So I think it all ties together. In this example, so leading right in, Janine Kosick from Chicago had a bio that was out there, and it talked about some of her experience, and she's got some great certifications. And there was nothing really wrong with the way that she was approaching things. But what was interesting is that the group from Best Agent Today came in and they looked at what they were doing. They interviewed her. They talked to her about what she was doing. And they said, okay, how can we tie this back with what consumer is actually looking for? So how do we take this from a bio that says, I was born here, this is where I live, this is what I do, whatever else, and turn it into something that resonates with the consumer? You tie that in, like I just said, with testimonials, with reviews from people who say, look, I agree with this, and this is something that's true. And then if you put that out there, that really takes her to the next level. And when the new customer is coming in, whether that's a referral to Janine or that's somebody who's just searching on the internet, now when they look at it, they go, hey, that's really powerful. And I want to point something out to you. Whether you're using, I think Peter mentioned earlier, buses and bus stops and postcards and whatever. If you get a postcard in the mail today, you're still going to look them up online before you're going to list your house with them, right? I mean, everybody in the world today goes back and they say, okay, let's see what this really looks like. And I think it's an important point. And if you've got that right message out there and you've got it at the right point, I think it makes all the difference in the world. And so that's, I think, the case of Janine. So with that, we can jump on to the next one, which is a video. And I think this is really interesting. So I have to be honest with you, I have been hesitant to do too much video because it's difficult. But here's the thing, if you've got somebody who makes it easy and makes it real, video really, really resonates with consumers. And video is very, very powerful. So here's somebody, and play the video and we'll talk about it.
Hi, my name is Cole Hui. I'm a real estate agent here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Like a lot of other agents, I came to this as a second career. I spent 10 years in tech before this. 7 of them were at a real estate software company. During that time, I learned a lot about real estate, the markets, the economics of it, but I also saw agents and how they worked with their clients and how they worked with each other. What struck me is that a lot of times these interactions are very transactional feeling, and it feels like someone who doesn't have a strong personal connection with you is helping you make some really, really personal decisions. I aim to help my clients in a way that makes them feel like a really good friend is helping them make a big decision. That's the spirit I try to bring into this work. I grew up in a small town in North Dakota. My dad was a carpenter turned shop teacher, and it instilled me with a very strong DIY, get your hands dirty mentality. And I combine that mentality with my market and industry knowledge from my career in tech, and I bring them together, and I think it makes a really formidable combination. I always say that my main job is to inform and guide good decision making, and that's what I try to do with my clients, to help them feel confident in their decisions. I'm there as a guide along the way, and like I said, I want to bring that spirit of just being a really good friend, helping you make those decisions. So if you're looking for an agent who's going to care a lot about you, I would really love to sit down and have a conversation with you and see if we'd be a good fit together.
So my comment about that is, here's a conversation, and I saw one of the notes says, it seems like it's a little bit long, and I'm not going to argue that point, but what I think is he's not making it up. I mean, if you listen to what he's saying and you listen to how he's not reading from a script, he's not trying to tell you what you want to hear as a consumer. He's literally talking about, hey, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to work with. And if you're the type of person that wants to work with somebody like me, it makes a lot of sense. And I really think that video sort of conveys that in a way that doesn't work in text, in email, and in other areas. So I just think that that's it's very run of the mill. Clearly, he wasn't in a production studio, right? It was straight off and well done. But if you work with somebody who knows how to help you with that, they can make something work. So
there's a question that came in, which there's a couple that are kind of related. One came in from John. He said, what do you say to someone who has the objection, I should say, that's just too complicated, too confusing for me to build my online profile? It's like, it's too much work. I'm just not going to do it. What do you say to people that say that to you?
So somebody said to me once, technology is not going to replace realtors, but realtors that embrace the technology are going to replace the realtors who don't. And I wish I could give credit to the person who said that, because I think it was a brilliant quote. It was not mine, I will admit that. But the point about that is that it doesn't have to be that complicated. If you work with the right partner, right? And I know that at some point in here, we're going to hear from folks from Best Agent Today, who I've worked with for years. But I know that also there are others out there as well. But the point is, get the right partner, put it together. Don't try and be the hero that's going to go out there and start writing, JavaScript or some crazy thing. Just find the right partner, put it together, and make yourself a great profile, make yourself a great solution. And at the end of the day, you're going to put yourself ahead of 80%, 90% of the other realtors are out there, because they're not doing it. They're just not taking advantage of it. And it doesn't have to be tough. And you don't have to be, 20 years old and have a background in technology to figure this stuff out. The fact of the matter is, anyone can do it, and it's not that hard. So get out there and find it, get it done, and move it forward. It's not that expensive either. So, Peter, any thoughts on that? I mean, I know you've got a big background on this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you just said, and I'm thinking of a combination of the technology itself, and as a tool, but also people who are experts. Like, it's okay if you're an expert at selling real estate, you might not be a copywriter expert, right? So find somebody who is. And a service like Best Agent Today offers that for you, right? To help you compile that bio so you don't have to do it all yourself. And I think one of the keys is thinking about, what is it that you're really good in and your strengths, and what you don't know or what you're not as good at. And then where you have that gap, find out somebody who can do that for you, or a technology that can do that for you. In fact, I was leading a little bit to one of the points I want to make on this slide here, looking at it. Once you've established that brand identity and information, focused on your ideal audience, it's really time to take it to the right people at the right time. And a great way to accomplish this is with something called keyword search retargeting, which is a real mouthful. And we don't expect you to master that. And I'd probably be a little concerned if you did, or if you did, you might be in the wrong business. But I'll explain what it is. But really, as a start, it's a little bit like, I was trying to think of a couple of examples, like renovating your house, if you're handy, or gardening, let's say. If you have the right tools, it makes the work a lot easier. So it's having those tools, or finding the people who have those tools so that they can do it for you. A little deeper, or maybe a little more explanation about keyword search retargeting. Probably most importantly, it's a cost-effective way to identify and then target more motivated audience of buyers and sellers. So this process is not intrusive. Sorry, I had somebody at my door there. Because consumers have already expressed interest, right, in real estate in your market by their search behavior. So now you can promote your brand identity 24/7 without wasting digital marketing investment on the wrong audience. And keyword search retargeting also helps you stay top of mind. And I can't use that phrase enough. You want to get top of mind and then stay top of mind early in that consumer real estate journey. So when they're ready to make a move to buy or sell, they already know who you are and what you offer. That gives you a competitive edge. So a little bit more on how this works. So when an individual or a consumer conduct a keyword search for real estate related information in a specific market, they've expressed interest and intent. These are motivated prospects. So that could be things like, top 5 home improvements to make before you sell a house, right? Or best time of year to sell a house, or there are a whole host of possibilities there. So people who are doing research, they're doing those searches often really, really early in that process, and you're capturing through this product or this service, you're capturing that motivated audience. Then you can target them with branding ads that promote your expertise, you as the expert in the market that they're interested in. And your ads appear real time wherever they go online. Like we were talking about right up front, it's on those websites, it's on mobile apps, it's on social media. When an interested consumer then clicks on an ad that they see right in any one of those environments, they go to a site to learn more about what you are about you and what you have to offer.
Sorry, I muted myself. So one of the things that is really important also is reaching out. So step 4 is making sure that you're reaching out across all the different platforms. So I talk to a lot of agents, they focus on, for example, Facebook. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Facebook is very, very powerful. But you also have to recognize that if you're going to reach out to a larger audience, and you're gonna get out there, you need to use Twitter, now X. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be reaching out to LinkedIn, a wider variety of social media. And then beyond social media, you need to consider what's going on. Where are people going on the internet, right? So people, I don't know. I mean, some people may go strictly to social media, but I think in general, they're out there. They're looking at everything from what's happening with, ESPN to, what's on CBS, what's on whatever else. And so we also need to be cognizant of the fact that with the retargeting strategy that we were talking about before, and with some of the other things that are going on, and you can move to the next slide, I think, people are spending a ton of time online, and they may not just be on Facebook. And so if that's your marketing strategy, that is not a comprehensive or holistic marketing strategy. You really got to be thinking about, okay, where are people? And when you think about potential buyers and sellers, and that's who I think most realtors are thinking about, yes, they're on social media. Absolutely. Is it important? Absolutely. I'm not trying to downplay that. But where else are they, right? Are they reading the news? Are they out there? Are they looking at their local newspaper? Are they looking at other things along those lines? And the way that you reach out is using retargeting and using a solution that reaches across multiple different channels to find the right sites to put those ads out there so that when they see you, it resonates. And so when they see that ad that says, you know, Marilyn Wilson with Adams Cameron Company, and they're looking at, the latest in, whatever the local news, it really resonates and it makes a huge difference and it's very powerful. And what's amazing is that if you get the right partner, you can find ways to make that happen. And it does make a big difference.
Yeah, it makes you feel like your agent's everywhere. To me,
Yeah.
when I see them, like, wow, they are really on top of things. They're everywhere. They really understand my market. It's a really good way to, and it keeps driving home the brand awareness too, which we forget who our agents are sometimes.
And it's important too, Marilyn, because times have changed, right? So it used to be that when you saw somebody, you saw them in your local newspaper, right? Today, that's not our only source of news. It's actually not even a source of news for a lot of people, right? We're out there on the internet. We're all over the place. We want to make sure that we have that coverage because we want to make sure that, when our agents are out there, or when our customers are out there, they're seeing our agents, they're seeing folks, and they're going, hey, that's somebody who's doing the next thing. They're taking it to the next level.
So Elaine's getting excited. She's asking, do we need to be posting things for Best Agent today, or is it being done without us or actively posting? So how much role does the agent play versus the system helping them get information out there?
Peter, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's incumbent upon the agent to post or somebody in the office. And an example, I'm going to use an example. I don't know if this is what was intended by the question. Let's say a new customer testimonial, right? Or a new credential that you earned type of thing. So the Best Agent today could help you make that post, but they're not going to be initially aware of that. So if you can make them aware, either it's very easy for an agent to do that themselves, or for Best Agent today to help them do that.
So it depends also on your brokerage, right? So if you're working with somebody who's full service, they're going to be out there, they're going to be looking for those types of things. They're going to be trying to post those things. They're going to be releasing press releases, and press releases not just to your local news media, but also to the internet, so that that'll be carried elsewhere. And so if you're working with somebody who's doing all that, that's fantastic. If you're not, you really do have to take a firm stand, and you need to grab the bull by the horns and take it to the next level, because you want to make sure that everything that you do is getting out there. And it's a difficult balance. It depends on your relationship with your brokerage. It depends on your relationship with your broker, and what you and he or she want, what your relationship looks like. And I don't think there's any one company that you can rely on to say, yeah, they're going to take every one of my accolades to the next level.
Well, here's something else that we've been thinking a lot about when we talk about social media. And I just was talking to my daughter about this, who does, if any of you guys have NCAA athletes, there's this whole thing called NIL, and they can now get advertising sponsorships. And what they talked to her about was, and I've seen consultants in my industry do this successfully. It's kind of like day in the life, like the things that an agent does on a normal basis. They do some really smart things that they take for granted because, well, of course, everyone does that. It's like, well, no, not everyone does it, especially if it's really smart and really proactive. And it helps demonstrate without going, I'm so great, I'm so great, I'm so great, that, hey, today I just went in, I just staged a house with 4,300 square feet in it. Wow, it looks fantastic. Can't wait to see how the open house goes this weekend, right? It doesn't have to be like, I think sometimes we take for granted the expertise that we have as agents. And that's the stuff people are interested in. If they hear that over and over and over, and then you talk about this smart thing you did and that smart thing you did, and wow, then a client tells you how great you were, and oh, I just had a great, a great closing, whatever. There's kind of a cumulative effect that you have to think about, right? It isn't just a one and done. And press releases are great because they're, of course, exciting, but most of us don't have press releases on a daily basis unless we're really spectacular, right? So, thinking about just demonstrating your expertise, that to you might be like, I know everybody does that. Like, no, not everyone does do that. Like, take credit for the great work you do, especially as a buyer's agent. It's hard to be a buyer's agent. Take credit for the great stuff that you do. It can really help you.
It's kind of interesting, and I'm thinking about some of what John was saying earlier. It's probably the opposite of what how your mother or your father or both might have raised you, and like to be humble. So this is more the opposite. Like, no, don't be humble. You want to really shout out about what are like you were just talking about, Marilyn. What are those really great things that you do, and don't take for granted that everybody else does them. I think that's an excellent point. In fact, it might even be helpful for you. I'm thinking about each of you in the audience, just kind of verbally describe to somebody else some of the stories that you have or the things that you've done to really help make, deliver a better customer experience. And that person, kind of feeding back to you would probably say, wow, that's amazing. That should definitely be part of your story that you need to tell everybody.
Yeah. And it's like, take credit for just those small wins. I mean, there's something good psychologically to do that too, to write down, hey, it's not earth shattering, right? But I had a win today. I did that and that was great. And my client was super happy. Or wow, I felt like I was really, focused on great marketing for the property I just listed, or whatever it is, right? They're not earth shattering, but it helps you feel good as an agent to say, oh, you're right. I did have 5 good wins today. I forgot. And then that easily becomes that post, right? Again, not earth shattering. Just take credit for the great things you do on a daily basis. If you're a great agent, you're doing smart things all day long and you're not even thinking about it because you just do it normally, right? So take credit for it.
So kind of shifting back a little bit to digital marketing, there's really good data and science that shows in marketing generally, digital ads across some of what John was talking about, across multiple channels or products targeted to the right audience will significantly increase your brand awareness. And that in turn generates more results over time. I read a study about this in the Harvard Business Review a few years ago. And it really is kind of intuitive or makes sense after you think about it. But like both Marilyn and John were just talking about, if a consumer sees your brand or your ad on Facebook and Instagram, and then again on CNN.com and on VanityFair.com or wherever else, right, in some app, it has a cumulative impression, so that you're establishing that top of mind awareness. So when they come to make that decision, you're there, right? You're it. It's really this fusion right here. Some of the things we talked about, you capture your ideal audience, you target them with your brand advertising, you're harnessing that power of multi-channel geographically, I should say, targeted marketing to build your sphere and your future pipeline. Or you're using those technology tools, or even better, have someone else, right, an expert, use the tools for you to build that brand over time.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's really important is it doesn't happen immediately, right? So one of the keys that Peter was talking about is you've got to reach out in multiple different formats. And so we're talking a lot about online. There's still, direct marketing, direct mail, there's email marketing, there's all kinds of other things out there. But the fact is that you've got to have the combination, you got to have the right combination in order to make it successful. And in my opinion, having your brand out there and having yourself positioned appropriately is going to make all the difference in the world. And it's ultimately, according to the National Association of Realtors and to Zillow's research, your sphere of influence is far and away your best source of business. Now, where do you communicate with your sphere of influence today? You're looking at them online. You're communicating with them on, social media and other things like that. But every time they see you in a different occurrence, there's huge benefit associated with that, and there's a lot of value. And so anything you're doing where you see them, I don't care if it's at Bridge Club or Rotary or the Garden Club or whatever, you're seeing these people, but also when they see you online, it makes all the difference in the world. You add to that with all the other marketing you're doing, but having that online brand is absolutely crucial. It's a foundation that can't really be replaced, if that makes any sense. All right. So one of the heuristics that's out there, this rule of thumb is, look, it takes people multiple times to view it before they're going to look at it in any way. It takes them a longer while before they're going to remember it. And this wasn't anything new. I mean, in the old world of physical mail, we used to have this thing called the marketing rule of 7, and you can put it into Google and it's going to say, takes 7 connections before anyone remembers who you are, and builds, awareness. And so what we're looking at here is we want to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're building the right promotion so that you're getting out there, and you need to be consistent. And I mean, really consistent, so that you're constantly in front of people and they start to look at you not just as, hey, there's something that I'm passing by, but I'm seeing you over and over and over again in a variety of situations. And all of a sudden, what's that build? It builds when somebody's thinking about selling their home, they're going to call. When somebody's thinking about buying a home, you're on the top of their mind. And so there's a lot of value associated with that. And if you want to do it on your own, and some people do, get out there and stay on top of it and be ahead of the game and do it. And if you don't feel like you've got the time, or don't want to spend the time on it, get out there and find somebody who will do it for you and build that consistency so that you get that awareness, build the trust, build the brand, in conjunction with, the overall brokerage name, so that when they look at it and they go, hey, we're seeing XYZ real estate, we know that, Marilyn is there, and we know that we trust Marilyn. If we can do that, if you can get to that point, you're going to build a business. That's my opinion. Okay, so to wrap up, the 5 points we talked about today were: 1, identify your unique attributes that value your brand identity. And Peter talked a lot about that. Communicate that value from a consumer's perspective. And I think that's a great point. Make sure that you're not looking at it from the standpoint of what you think is valuable, but also what consumers are going to hold true. And then target your ideal prospects. And in a lot of cases, your ideal prospects are going to be your sphere of influence, but also, you're reaching out to people that you think are best suited to work with you. And then reach out to them across different channels. So it's not just one place, it's not just one strategy, but you're coming across so that everywhere they look, they're seeing you, and they're seeing, you as a great alternative. And then lastly, you want consistency. You want to make sure that your brand, the way that you're presenting yourself, the pictures you're using, etc., are standardized across everything. And when you put all that together, it's a winning solution.
So Best Agent Today uses this approach really to help agents build their digital brand identity. It feeds off of so many of the points that we've talked through here. starts with identifying consumers interested in your market through that keyword search retargeting, right? What's that consumer behavior? And essentially tagging them, right? And then we're going to message them over time. You're creating, with Best Agent Today's help, your profile page. Best Agent Today creates those digital banner ads from that includes customized keywords, right? So those ads are only going to be served up to that target audience. And then delivering those ads and campaigns consistently over time when the consumers are on those multiple channels that John talked about, the websites, the apps, social media, providing the agent as well back real-time activity of what's happening with those consumers on your profile page or with your profile page in a campaign dashboard. And one of the most important things that you always want to look at over time they're referred to as your analytics, right? And then monitoring and managing the campaign to make sure that you're getting the best results over time, right? So, geez, maybe we want to change some of the messaging, like John said, maybe you want to change image or whatever it might be, or whatever changes, or wow, we're delivering or we're getting great results. Let's keep that going. Maybe you want to amplify that actually. So it's a combination really of all of those. And then putting everything together, these are some of the digital brand marketing assets that Best Agent Today creates for each agent or broker. There's that profile page with the customized keywords. And part of what that does is help in organic search, right? So when somebody is searching in Google or Bing or some other search engine, right, that you're appearing at the top organically, it's even better without paying extra for it. And a few examples of those digital banner ads. And they really can take the form of all shapes and sizes and graphic designs, but you want it to be clean, not too cluttered, and get that key message or message points across very easily. And that's all part of that Best Agent Today tech platform. This is just a quick example of a dashboard that shows that consumer activity within the agent's profile page. This is just 1 month of consumer engagement. I think this actually happens to be a buyer agent, so there aren't listing views per se, but you know, the type of analytics that you'll receive over time, and then you can monitor. Best Agent Today monitors, and then you optimize campaigns as they're needed over time. And so, lastly, but not leastly, the treat. And I know that you're all readying your Halloween bags to head out tonight. So this is the start, the first thing to drop in your bag as a thank you for attending the webinar today. You will receive 33% off. It's a $350 value off of a 3-month subscription to Best Agent Today when you sign up by basically 2 weeks from today, November 15th. There's some contact information here that's on the screen. You also will receive it in the slides that you'll get, so you can reference this. But just to read this quickly, because this is a distinction actually, the URL where you can go is Best Agent Today. I'm sorry, this is why I'm reading it. bestagent.today, and use the promo code RETECH, RETECH, to get that 33% off. Or you can contact Lori Deans directly at Best Agent Today, and you can see her contact information there. Just simply Lori, and that's LORI, at bestagenttoday.com.
Well, thanks for that. That's a great offer. I'm sure our audience is appreciative of. That's a big discount. Do we get one of those cute cookies to go with it too?
Absolutely, it's on the way.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. So does anyone else have any questions? There's been quite a few that have come in. Let me see. I think there was one that what examples can you give that increasing brand awareness is happening? So like, how do you know if this is working? What would you expect to see happening in your sphere? Or what would it look like if you're doing this right?
So what I would say about that is, Marilyn, that's a great question. I'm not sure who asked it, but the answer is it's not the same as sort of internet leads, right? So when we talk about internet leads, I look at how much I spent on Google, how much I spent on Facebook, how much I spent on whatever else, and I look at how many leads I get out of that. And if I'm really, really good, which is the much harder part, I can then look and say, okay, what's my conversion rate on those leads? So what's the value of those leads that come through? And if I'm really, really good at all that, and I'm doing just pure digital marketing, I can get to the point where I can say, look, it cost me, for example, $180 per lead to get somebody to come through. This is a different animal, right? So we're not talking about internet leads. We're not talking about a transactional model. Instead, what we're really looking at with what Best Agent Today is doing is branding. And what's important about that is building that brand it's harder to measure, right? But I would argue it's more valuable, because if I find somebody because they're the most popular on a particular website, that's out there, like a real estate website, for example, I may reach out to them, but I have no tie to them. I've got no connection. And probably before I actually go out and actually conduct business with them, I'm going to go look them up on other sites. I'm going to go out and check them out in other locations. If I don't find anything that's compelling or valuable to me, then that brand doesn't really exist, right? And so there's a reason why we go back to companies that we trust. There's a reason why we do other things. I tell a story all the time about my wife and I like to take road trips, and we might see a billboard advertising a particular restaurant. And between the two of us, we look up and see what that restaurant's reviews look like. And we look at whether or not that's there. Well, guess what? If Google isn't familiar with that restaurant, I'm not stopping. I'm going to move on to the next one. And I think she does TripAdvisor, but whatever she does, if it doesn't know it, we're not stopping. So the point is that you've got to have that solid brand. You've got to have that fundamental base, and you've got to build that, and you've got to remind people that you're there all the time. That's the point of everything we've talked about today. It's not about how much I paid per lead or what my conversion rate per lead is. It's the total opposite of that. It's let's build the brand so that every lead, whether it comes from the internet or from a friend or whatever else, makes sense.
Well, and there's a marketing mantra and a messaging mantra that you need to hear something at least 7 times before it starts to sink in. And it's probably more. That's old data. In today's market, with the 7 million things we all do every day, it's probably 14 times, right? So yeah, it's like it's almost like you push, nothing happens, and all of a sudden it's like whoop, you get this huge upswing, right? So you meet someone at a cocktail party, like, oh yeah, I've seen your posts about whatever it is, right? It's almost a cost of doing business at some level. If you want to have a brand that's well known in your region, and you want to get your unfair share of the market, you have to have that kind of brand awareness. And I love that analogy of the restaurant. I'm the same with you. If it's not on Yelp, I'm not going near it. So totally agree with you on that. So yeah, great way of looking at it. And and it's a good time right now. I mean, I hate to say it, right? But people are a little less crazy busy than they were 18 months ago, 24 months ago. Now's the time to invest in yourself. It's your time to go do those things, those foundational marketing elements that you have to have, that frankly, we all know we're supposed to do, and we don't do it. Now's the time. And Best Agent's a great company to do that with. I don't work with them personally, but I've heard, agents that do. I respect John's opinion. He sees a lot of tech. And the fact that he's chosen these guys tells me a lot that he believes they can really do good things for his agents. So I'd check it out if I were you guys. You got time now. But again, this is we're in a more competitive time than we've ever been in for so many reasons. And if you're serious about being a realtor, you got to stay in and you got to do the stuff that matters. So anyway, for what it's worth, thank you so much to everybody. Oh, there's a question that just came in. I'm currently building a property management business as a sister company to my 4-year-old real estate business. I'd be interested in a follow-up call to discuss options, as I'm currently updating that plan as well. Okay, so we'll send over your email address over to the team and they can talk to you about that, because I'm sure it works for property management just as well as it does for realtors, right? It works for all kinds of small businesses, correct?
Yeah, I'm happy to reach out to John as well and
Perfect.
share my opinions on that one, because I've been down that road.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much, guys. Everyone have a great afternoon. I hope you have an amazing fourth quarter, and don't give up. There's lots of business to be had out there. You just got to get smart and proactive. You can do it. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Marilyn.